Good morning, welcome to day 2 of the Tig Weld Virgin Series. Yesterday I made some volcanoes. I made some mistakes, but that's okay, I'm learning. I got a couple of very helpful comments from David Waskovich and Brian Winters on what I was doing wrong and what I should be doing. So I'll show you what I did yesterday and I'll go through what I should have been doing. So this is my efforts from yesterday, my first ever TIG weld. These are all just practice welds. There's no filler rod involved in this whatsoever. This was really just getting technique and method down. So that was my first ever TIG weld, which I had to stop because my welding helmet setting was incorrect. I couldn't see what I was doing. I tell a lie, I think that was my first ever, yeah, that was my first ever weld. And then I did lots of little spots. And as you can see, all these little spots have got little holes in them, or pipes I think they call them. So I've discovered, thanks to David Waskovich, I need to properly prep the steel. Basically, I used a wire brush or a wire wheel to clean the surface, and it looks nice and clean, but there's still mill scale in that, and that's what's, hopefully that's what's causing the contamination and making all these little holes up here. The other thing that Brian told me was the tungsten I'm using, which is 1/16, is not thick enough to weld that thickness of steel, but it should be fine for welding sheet steel, you know, bodywork stuff. So this section of scrap steel is already been sanded down, ground down. So this should actually be perfect. So this is what I'm going to practice today. And then hopefully, once I've perfected the technique, my filler rod will arrive and I can actually start welding stuff together. I maybe cut some sheet steel into little sections and just try and make a little cube or something like that. Just something that's not just two angles welded together, you know what I mean? Something actual, something that I can put on the shelf with a big sign that says my first weld, yay, that kind of deal. So let's set up and start doing some practice stuff like I did with that one, but hopefully not awful. So as like yesterday, because I don't have my filler rod yet, I'll just be practicing with spots and little lines to just get used to the flow and the gas and just the motion and where your hand should go. Today I'm actually going to use a little LED flashlight just so I can see what I'm doing before I start the weld. You know what it's like, you get older, you have to use reading glasses, your eyesight's not quite so good in the dark, so why make life hard for yourself? So I'm going to put that on there just so I can see in between the welds. I do have an auto darkening helmet, but it's still really dark for me. So I've got my steel, I've cleaned both sides this time so that there's no contamination and they are sanded down. That'll go on the base. I will keep the gas rate as it was, it's about 13, which should be enough for mild steel. And I'll turn the amperage down to, let's start at 40. See what happens. If it's not enough, I'll turn it up. Let's get going. Yay, no volcano today. I'll just stop there because that's success. Only kidding. Let's see how many we can do without volcanoes. Perfect? Well, not perfect, but certainly better than yesterday. So I will try doing a little line. Let's see if we can get results from that. Let's have a look at the back side of that. That looks pretty good to me. Wow, what a difference a bit of knowledge makes. Thank you very much, David and Brian. I will keep practicing and I'll come back when my filler rod arrives. I do need to prep some little sections of steel to weld together, but I'll just keep practicing till I run out of talent, I suppose. As you know, I am not famous for my patience. So I took the electric car down to Princess Auto again to get electrodes. So now we can weld proper thick stuff. My filler rod arrived, but I also bought another pack of filler rod because, let's face it, I'm going to be going through that stuff. Right, let's weld some bits of metal together. Actually, before I start trying to weld two bits of metal together, I'm going to try just laying a bead on this and just get used to adding the filler rod to the puddle. Now I've noticed, just in case you didn't know, I've never done this before, right? I've noticed on this filler rod there's a flat end there, but there's also a flat end there. So I'm not sure if you're supposed to like cut this in the middle, because this seems a bit unwieldy to, you know, try and add all this at once. So I'm going to cut it in half. Presumably the flat end is so that you've still got something to hold to as you get close to the end without, you know, it's more of a sort of feely thing. You know you're getting to the end. Otherwise it would just, you would just slip right off and then your rod might fall in the middle of the work. I don't know, but I'm going to cut it in half and then start laying some pipe or something. I don't know what the term is. Whoa, this is really strong stuff. Okay, I'll see you down there. I've turned the amps up to 80. This is 18 gauge steel. This is 1/16 rod, and I'm using 1/16 tungsten. Let's go. Okay, possibly too much heat. I'm going to turn the amps back down to 40, try again. Okay, moving too slow. It's going to take a bit getting used to, guys. I'm going to turn the heat down even more. This is pretty thin steel. Now we're down at 20. So I think it's easier to work with higher temperature. So if I'm going to put the amps up, I'm going to turn the gas up a wee bit. Okay, gas is at 20, amps are at 80. Did I buy a plasma cutter by mistake? Right, I'm going to put the filler rod away for now and go back to practicing. Find out what I'm doing wrong here. I might actually be too far away from the work surface. Behold my masterpiece. And by masterpiece I mean abomination. There's a bit of warping. There's a couple of small holes. Right, I think I know what's going wrong here. I'm trying to run before I can walk. I think I need to start with thicker steel and we'll work my way down to the more intricate thin steel. So I'm going to switch over the tungsten to the 3/32 or something. Anyway, it's like twice as thick as the current electrode, and use thicker steel. And obviously that piece that I was using yesterday, I need to grind that down to get rid of the mill scale, whatever it is, the coating that's on it. So I'll bring you back when I'm ready to try again. We are back. This is the bit of steel I was using yesterday, as you can see, with all the lovely volcanoes. But you can see the difference from where I've cleaned off the mill scale to, it was quite a thick coating, so I'm only going to be using this section to practice now. I've changed my cup size to 6, I've changed the electrode to 3/32. I've turned the gas up to 100. No, sorry, I've turned the amperage up to 100, the gas is about 20. Let us try again. Way nicer, way nicer. You know what, I might even turn up I'm going to turn the ampage up a bit more because it's taken a while to heat up the area. Right, I'm up at 140 amps now. That's actually quite nice. It could even go a bit higher. I don't know, I mean the heat is going all the way through. I'm going to try a wee bit higher. I'm about 170. Quite nice. I think I'm going to try some filler rod. See if it works this time. okay, not burning through. Not really seeing any sign of the filler rod, but then I'm not exactly welding anything to something else. Now I couldn't get the thicker filler rod, so I might have to shove this stuff in faster. I just didn't have the thicker. This is 1/16 filler rod. I'm probably supposed to use the same size of rod as the electrode. I'll try one more pass, and then I'll cut up some bits of steel to try and weld together. Didn't realise how close I was to the edge. As you can see, I've made a big nice hole at the side. I'll try a bit over here. It's quite hard to follow a line when you don't have a huge amount of steel to play with. Yeah, I think I really need to stuff this rod in. I think you can get away with dabbing it if it's like aluminum, but with steel I think it's going to require a lot. Okay, let me chop up some steel and see if we can make something. Right, I decided I wasn't quite ready yet to weld stuff together, so I kept on practicing. So check this out. Dimes, kind of dimes. If you put dimes on a railroad track and let the train run over it, then that would be dimes. Give you a bit of a closer look. So you can see there, and there obviously. Finally starting to understand the process here. You know what, it's pretty gratifying when you finally get to do the sort of things you've been seeing on YouTube and other people welding, you know, professional stuff. I mean, we're just at the very start, but I think it was right. I'm going to need, to weld the thicker steel, I'm going to need the thicker filler rod, because I'm really having to ram that into the puddle. Otherwise it's just not filling the gap that you're creating with the heat. So, I was maybe being a wee bit ambitious with like welding a box today, so let's just try and weld 2 bits of metal together, right? Baby steps. Okay, we have 2 bits of metal, and I have just put a little angle on the edge, just to give the weld somewhere to go, you know, the filler to fill. That's what it's for. We're going to put a tack at either side just to kind of hold it together, and then we'll use the rod. Oh, let's try it. A little tack there. Little tack there. give this a go. I'm scared. I'm just practicing where I'm going, probably this way. Yeah. Stupid rod. I need to get used to feeding the rod as well. Oh, get off. Okay, apart from that bit at the end, that went pretty good, I think. Let's have a close look. This is my first ever TIG welding 2 bits of metal together. Doesn't sound very exciting to most people, but it's pretty exciting to me. It almost looks like a proper weld. Lacking in uniformity, a little bit of weirdness going on there, but you'll also notice that this bit of steel was not completely cleaned of the mill scale. Overall, really happy. I don't know what's going on with that little copper hole or brass coloured hole. Who knows? Some sort of contaminant. I'm really happy. This is my happy face. That's not bad after half a day of practice, actually getting a weld that almost looks like a proper TIG weld. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to order a pack of those little coupons that everyone seems to get. They're little 2" by 3" rectangles of steel or whatever material you're wanting to weld, and they're specifically for practicing this kind of thing. And also, I think they are not coated. I don't think they've got any mill scale on them. They're just ready to practice with. So that saves me a lot of time with just finding or buying a bit of steel, chopping it into squares, welding it all together for practice. That seems like a lot of work because I would have to grind it all down. So I think that's what we'll do. For now, I'll just keep practicing with what I've got. I'm not going to move on to the steel sheets at the moment because that obviously requires a bit of intricacy that I don't have yet. Okay, that was awesome. Thanks for watching. If you want to see how I progress, make sure you subscribe below. Otherwise, farewell. See you in the next one. Bye.